What's up, guys? This is Kephas. I imagine now, if they got rid of Dungeon Finder, as much as I hate Dungeon Finder, if they got rid of it, probably wouldn't be very good for the game, because they've gotten to a point where that's what the player base likes it. I mean, in many ways, they've standardized it for MMOs. I mean, Final Fantasy uses a Dungeon Finder as well, and that's a very successful MMO. The cool thing about Final Fantasy is they have things like endorsements, and they've made Dungeon Finder, like running dungeons, a part of the storyline. So that it kind of works out really well in that game. I like the way that the game does dungeons. And people in general, I don't know if it's still the case, but when I was playing it last, people were very, very friendly in that game. So it wasn't so bad. And while, honestly, these days, from my experience, I run dungeons more. I don't run a lot of current dungeons. I run a lot of leveling dungeons. From time to time, I shouldn't say a lot. But people tend to be... Honestly, they don't tend to be nice or rude. They're very quiet. I mean, that's honestly how it is. They're very quiet. So that's, in some ways, I'm like, cool, no conflict. On other times, I'm like, I miss conversations. You know what I mean? That's when I think about, like, my favorite dungeons to run. And this is why I'm always like, I miss the old way, is because I miss when I would find people, we'd hop and vent, and we'd have fun and talk. And it made dungeons so much more fun. Because at the end of the day, like, when you're running the same dungeon for the 99th time, you know what I mean? And it's just, you're just quiet, you're not talking, you're just doing this again. It's like, ugh, this is not fun. You know, like, at least to me, it sounds like, oh God, I gotta run this dungeon again, you know? But back in the day, when I would run, like, Halls of Lightning again for the 50th time, it was masked by, oh crap, this is bad. This could be a problem. It was masked by the fact that I had... Ooh, did I level up again? Yes, I did. I'm level 97. This is crazy. It was masked by the fact that I had so many people that I was running it with, or at least I had the same group of like 4 or 5 people, and we would just chat all night. Like, we'd run it again. Hey, let's go run. Who needs it? You still need to get that axe? Yep. All right, let's run Halls of Lightning again. Let's do it, But what was cool about it is, like, even though we were doing the same thing every time, because we had been doing it, we gotten so good at it, we were at a place where we could just chit-chat. Like, talk about whatever. And that kind of made it better because, now you're not focusing on the fact that you've ran this 1,000 billion times, but you're focused on the fact that, hey, we're just chilling and playing this game and having a good conversation. So that's kind of like my perspective, I guess, on dungeons and all that kind of stuff. Like, why I prefer... I prefer a game that encourages people to do that, but at the same time, I know that wasn't always the experience, and it certainly wasn't the experience that everyone had. So I can respect that, excuse me, goodness. But I think that's it's good to be honest and think from different perspectives about stuff like that, and hopefully that's something that, like, Blizzard does as well. I mean, like, I think that one of the biggest things that really got the classic community, angry at J. Allen Brack, and honestly, why I still don't care for the guy to this day. Like, he's, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but I think a lot of the reasons why people don't like him is because when he was asked about classic initially, he didn't seem like he would even consider the possibility that there's another perspective out there. And I think that's why people were so upset with him. That it would be absurd that you would ever even think that the older version of the game would be even appealing now. And it's just very disrespectful to people's opinions. I think the same thing happened with Diablo Immortal. Like, why would you not want this? Are you, like, do you just not have a phone? Like that's just a very disparaging approach to take, to not try to see from other people's perspectives. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the idea. And I guess you could say, well, fans should do that to the companies. Like, it's hard to look at this perspective of a company that really just, they want to make more money, and not just, you know what I mean? Like, that people are going to have a hard time being sympathetic to that cause especially when they feel like you're making the game that they love and they've been paying you for so many years significantly worse. So it's going to be very hard for, if that's your approach, if you demonstrate that you do not care a little bit about what your own customers think, then it's going to be very hard for them to be even remotely respectful to you, especially when you're at a place where you're making tons of money and you're making it off of people that you don't care about. Like that's a very hard to look at that perspective. So that's maybe the exception. But at the same time, for the one developer out there that's like just trying to do their job and they're trying to do the best they can and make a good game, and maybe they believe in what they're doing, or maybe they're trying to actively trying to make it better. But then they have to deal with like just awful, toxic, hateful, sometimes maybe even threatening comments. Like I can see those people being like, bro, you guys are all idiots. You know what I mean? I remember one time when Ghostcrawler was working for Blizzard, and he was, he had to deal with people constantly. I remember one time he was like, yeah, writing this from my yacht. Like, he was flexing, like, yeah, I'm writing this from my yacht, just, it was really funny, like, just the way he was trying to, be uppity about it, because he was frustrated, because he's just sick of people, like, don't talk to me like that, I don't even need you, I don't even got, the fact that I'm even addressing you, like, maybe that's not always the best attitude to have, but, you kind of can respect where he's coming from, like, I don't have time for this crap, I got a life, leave me alone, So, I guess there are even times where I can kind of see from the developer's perspective when you've been trying so hard to make a game as good as you can, and it's just like your people just crap on it. Like, that sucks, man. I get that. Like, I really do. And what sucks about it is, like, what I hate the most about, like, the way things are nowadays, especially for, like, big companies, is, like, you have these companies that are answering to shareholders or whatever, and their goal is to make not just as much money as possible, not even, like, good money, or they have to be making constantly more money. It's like, sooner or later, that bubble has to pop, right? You can't just be making more money forever. What are you going to do, get the entire world to play World of Warcraft? It's just ridiculous. But either way, they have to answer the shareholders. And so you have these, like, people that are in charge, the higher-ups, the decision makers, who are then telling the people that are working hard to make a good game, okay, you got to make this, and this. Oh, and you got to do it in this time frame. Like, you got to do that in a year. Wait, we need, like, at least 2. Well, too bad you got to do it in a year. Well, okay, that's my job. But, but then when it turns out to be not so great, who do people get mad at? Who do people blame? They don't blame the higher-ups that aren't there. They blame the guys that were trying their best to make a good game for them. You know what I mean? And I guess that's the sad thing about it, is like when you really start to realize that, it's like, man, not we, because I don't do that crap, but like the people that get mad and say things, like they take it out on the wrong people. They take it on the people that are actually, trying their best to, who love what they do and are trying to make a good game. I feel bad a lot of times for those developers, like, it just really sucks. Especially, like, I remember, people are ridiculous. Like, whenever Brigitte in Overwatch came out, like, the girl, if you don't play Overwatch, she's the girl with the shield. She's a healer. When they made her to answer a problem that Overwatch had, which is that there really weren't any answers to flanks and dives. So they made a character that could anti-dive. And the way they did that is they made a character that could do everything. She could tank, she could DPS, and she could heal. And she's so unbelievably powerful that the game has never been the same since. And people hated that character. They hated Brigitte because she changed the landscape of the game to the point where people didn't like it as much, and what people had to do to respond was not what people wanted to do. So, people got mad, and people would send hateful messages and all that to the person who was the voice actor for the character. Like, the voice actor. People took their frustrations out on the voice actor. Like, as if she had anything to do with the design of the character. She just did the voice. She was paid to do a job, the voice work. And she did an incredible job, by the way. Brigitte is one of my favorite characters in the game. But imagine taking your anger out on the voice actress. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, why would you even what is the logic there? You know? Like, I mean, what is the logic in that? That people did it, and she was like, "What? Why are you guys mad at me? Don't get mad at me. I just did the voice work, you know." And that's what people online who do jobs and whatnot. That's what they have to deal with, and you know, it's like on one hand, I'm like, yeah, and to some degree, you should expect to deal with nonsense when you do anything, I guess. And when you do anything that a lot of people are going to experience, you should expect some stupidity, because you know, if it's 1% of, you know, a lot of people, it's still going to be a lot of people, right? So, you know, 1% of, you know, 10 million people or whatever who play World of Warcraft, 1% of them are going to be stupid, right? That's still a lot of people. I don't want to do the math right now, but I didn't mean to fight this thing, but whatever. You know, so that's still a lot of the people that you got to expect are going to be dumb and ignorant, and you just have to kind of expect it, and there's not much you can do to prevent it from happening, you know. So but at the same time, it doesn't excuse stupidity either. Like, it just doesn't. And, you know, even like I hate, though, at the same time, like when, say, something is being criticized, maybe rightfully so, maybe there are legitimate criticisms, but then that 1% who takes things way too far, this thing is hurting me. Goodness gracious. Okay, let me just try to not die here. Finally. I didn't even mean to fight this thing to begin with, but like, we know when that 1% takes things too far, well, a lot of times people they'll demonize all the critics, right? Or just credit all the criticisms because of that small number that, you know, went and took things way too far. That's what's, you know, sometimes that's like, okay, I get, two wrongs don't make it right. Like, it's fine. You know, you should not obviously, you know, threaten people or send them hateful messages at all, ever, for anything, especially over entertainment. Like, it's stupid. But at the same time, don't hide behind that and then, you know, paint everybody with that brush of like, well, because obviously you're all trolls and you're all hateful and you're all evil and mean and threatening. And it's like, no. Some people might be, but that doesn't change the criticisms. It doesn't make the criticisms less valid, you know. You know, that's kind of like, I wish that's how people looked at that kind of stuff. Because it's like, come on, man. Like, just, let's try to have a conversation about stuff and not try to, like, why do people always have to try to undermine each other instead of just trying to, like, you know, get to the bottom of, like, what the disagreements are and, like, what the criticisms are. Are they valid? You know, like, do people have a point when they criticize, like, a piece of work that you do? You know, like, I mean, like, it wasn't long ago, excuse me, somebody, you know, suggested on here that I make these Let's Plays longer. You know, like, you know, really enjoy these, but they're like 15 minutes or under. I would love it if they were a little bit longer than that. You know, it's like, fine, that's a valid criticism. I get where you're coming from. I started making these videos when it was like, don't make videos long, 10 minutes, right? That was how it used to be, because once upon a time, videos could only be 10 minutes, you know? So, like, then the videos could be 15 minutes. So, like, my mindset was like, you know, 15 minutes. But now, like, okay, cool. If I get people that suggest maybe making them longer, that's fine. I'll do that. That's a good advice. It, you know, lets me talk longer, and I can get longer, especially for these Let's Plays, like this game especially, like, especially for Classic. Good Lord, you know, 15-minute episodes, and I'm going to be doing that for like 5 years because I do one episode a week. You know, so maybe making those episodes a little bit longer is not a bad idea. You know what I mean? So, like, criticism is good. If I try to undermine people and just, like, don't take the criticisms, then I'm never going to grow. I'm never going to learn. I'm never going to, like, you know, learn what my audience wants. You know, so criticism, especially when it's given well, you know, articulated honestly but fairly, I think it's good. And I think that people should be, especially, like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like Blizzard these days isn't like able to accept, not everybody, but a lot of people that are there they're not as able to accept criticism as they used to be. And maybe it's because like they get a lot of really harsh criticism. I don't know. But like, I mean, I remember when I, like, a lot of my more known video, like the three top videos on my channel were relatively harsh criticisms about a video game. Two of them were about WoW. One of them was in Mist of Pandaria near the end, about how WoW was, I thought, I think I'm still right about it, was becoming not as fun. This was near the end of MoP. And then the second one was in World of Draenor, where I thought the game actually sucked. And I gave pretty harsh criticisms. You know, and then I did one about The Sims 4, and I really went way up there. I was very frustrated with that game. And they have the most views, because whenever you are honest about something and people want to express those feelings and they resonate, like what you're saying resonates with them, they agree with you, you know, it gets attention. And you know, and at the time, because I had talked to a developer about it, like, you know, I made a video and they say, oh yeah, I've seen that video, and you know what, so has everybody else on the team. Like, whoa, really? Yeah. I'm like, oh man, they must hate my guts, you know. Like, I was really harsh about it. And they were like, at the time, you know, he's like, you know, no, like, your video actually, you know, like they listen to it and they understand where you're coming from, because, you know, my channel's not, I'm not PewDiePie, right? I'm a smaller channel. But those videos were getting big numbers for my channel, like really big, compared to like other things that I was doing. Like, you know, I get videos, like, had a couple maybe that were like around 1,000, maybe a couple that were, you know, more than that. I had a couple that were like over 10,000, and then I'd have like a lot that were under 1,000, you know, and still that's kind of how it is now. But those videos, like those criticisms, were over 100,000, right? One of them is like 500,000, my minutes in gaming one. The original one I did was crazy. Like, I was blown away by that. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that, you know. So when they see that, they're like, well, you know, this guy's made this video, and like, you know, here's what he normally gets in views, and this one's getting all this. That says something. You know what I mean? That means something. That means that what he's saying, people are agreeing with. People are wanting to hear it. And then you read the comments, and people are like, yes, this is how we feel. I was happy to be, I mean, didn't mean to be, but I was happy to be a voice for that. Like, you know, hey, this game could use some love. I wish that it had helped more. But I was happy that at the time, I was just happy to know that they could take the criticism and not, you know, and at least listen to it. Maybe they obviously didn't agree with a lot of it, because they didn't do a lot to change the course. I even I think Legion was pretty good, but I think that a lot of the same problems still existed, or maybe it was just too late. I don't know, but either way, you know, they eventually made, you know, everything that I said in that video culminated with what eventually became classic. That ultimately what had to be done was that, look, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, these people aren't shutting up. People prefer the game as it was before. And that has turned out to be true. That has turned out to be successful, whether people like it or not. The classic crowd is here to stay. Classic is crazy. Like, it's like, I was just on there a little bit ago. I was in Stormwind, and it was like, my game, like, it was hard to navigate around because there were so many people, like, everywhere. And that's ultimately what it came down to. Is like, well, maybe we can't, like, we're not going to change the game. We're not going to go back to the way things were. But finally, you know, they listened. And I would much rather get new content that is, you know, what I would like to see from WoW. But it's a good alternative. You know, at least they finally gave in. You know, it took a long time. It took a lot of people making videos, and took a lot of petitions, and a lot. You know, it sounds crazy, but it really did. And like I said, you know, when you have the guy that made the game, you know, or the guy that's head of the company or whatever, is just ignoring that, or just denying that that there are people like that, or even flat out telling people you don't actually want that. You know, that was a big moment. And I think that you know, what he might have thought was he was convincing people that they were wrong, actually made people feel even more validated. You know, and you're talking about the type of people that were watching my video. You know, you're talking about me and so many other people that, you know, it was a fight, man. Like, and I think that would have been a lot better if they had just listened and considered it as a possibility, like, just from the beginning. Like, look, man, you know, like, it's not hard to see why people might feel this way. The game is different now. Of course it is. Can't deny that it's not. So that's, you know, that's kind of how you kind of learn. But what I was saying was, like, I feel like nowadays, just from some stories that I've heard, some things that have happened to different, you know, creators, and just how I see things go with like who gets like Blizzard's attention nowadays and who doesn't. It seems like the people that, well, I mean, I'd say the one exception is Bellular, but like maybe it's how he does it. But people that criticize it tend to get the shaft nowadays. You know, maybe again, it may be because people sometimes go way too far with the criticism, just like over the top with it. And then a lot of people that just praise it and defend it. I don't want to say any names, but it seems like a lot of times they get, you know, they get the rub, they get the opportunities, they get the attention. I guess you could argue that maybe, well, it's fair enough. I mean, of course, that's how it's going to work out. But I don't feel like that's always how it was. I think that there was a time where they were willing to listen to criticisms when they were valid. I mean, they many times they have, and they probably still do. But you know, like I remember the Real ID thing. They got so much backlash from Real ID. Like, no, you're not going to put our real names in the forums. Are you insane? You know, they were seriously going to do that, and they got enough backlash that they didn't. But there have been other things that people were like, no, don't do this, and they did it. You know, so it just depends. I mean, I guess no one's perfect. You make mistakes. You know, but I hope that, you know, because like I've heard like the storytellers don't listen to criticisms at all. I don't know if that's true. Probably isn't. I hope it's not. But I've heard that like they literally lock themselves up in rooms and write the story, and they think it's great, and they don't care what anybody else thinks. I hope that's not true. Yeah, part of me, like, it wouldn't surprise me, because sometimes the story is good, and sometimes it's not. It just depends. I think I miss Medicine a lot. Aside from his like absolute love of Thrall, I think he did a good job at telling the story. But I you know, I mean, I think that there are a lot of talented people that work there that are trying to write stories for WoW, and I mean, look at Overwatch; it's pretty good too. And I want those stories to continue to be good. So the way that happens is not shutting out every voice that's outside of your circle. It comes with listening to feedback, and not always taking the credit, like, and like giving the. You don't always have to agree. You don't always have to go with what people say, but you should listen, and you should be willing and open to consider that maybe the people are right. Maybe we made some mistakes here. I think that can be true of a lot of creative entertainment related things right now. I think that I don't know what happened. I don't know if like there just was like an elitism that took over, and people were just thought they were above reproach or what. But it just seems like it's gotten pretty rough lately in the entertainment area, and I hope that can improve. You know, I hope that, like, you know, that whether it's games or movies or whatever, or TV shows, that people can, you know, stop being full of themselves and take what the people that are watching or consuming their content, you know, take what they have to say and consider it as a possibility that maybe we should listen to this and, you know, maybe learn from it. I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking. But either way, we have already gotten to level 98. So on the next episode, we will obviously finish up the Warlords of Draenor content. We have flown through this just by collecting things. I probably could have done it even faster if I was a faster player. But either way, I'm very happy about it, and I'm excited to finish this up, and then we'll move on to Legion. And we are getting close, you guys, to finishing up the retail version of leveling once again, right before Shadowlands comes out. So I'm pretty excited about that, you guys. I'm really, really looking forward to doing more things. Obviously, we'll do more leveling again once Shadowlands comes out. But we're going to finish up this, and then we'll continue on with the next episode. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button, and feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like, you can support this channel on Patreon. Links to all of this can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.